10 fun facts about Tung Tung Sahur. Number 10. The Guardian of the Dawn. Our journey begins with the watchful presence of Tung Tung Sahur, known as the Guardian of the Dawn. It is said that every morning, just before the sun rises, this enigmatic entity roams the silent towns, ensuring that everyone wakes up for the morning ritual. His name mimics the rhythmic sound of a drum echoing in the darkness. Tung Tung Tung, followed by the call Sahur, announcing the time to eat before dawn. Like an ancient guardian, he ensures that no one ignores the start of a new day. Despite his unsettling nature, many consider him almost a folkloric protector. In local tales, Tung Tung Sahur not only scares the sleepyheads, he also frightens away the evil spirits that wander late at night. His figure has become emblematic in modern oral tradition, representing the duality between fear and necessity. He is terrifying, yes, but he fulfills the crucial function of maintaining early morning discipline. The Guardian of the Dawn has given rise to countless campfire stories, where respect and humor mix in tales of this peculiar nocturnal alarm clock. Number 9. The Living Drum. In the ninth spot, we get a glimpse of his appearance. Tung Tung Sahur is essentially a living drum. Imagine a traditional carved wooden drum, the kind used to alert neighbors, coming to life with arms and legs. Its body is cylindrical and hollow like a kentongan, a village alarm instrument, adorned with greenish and brown motifs that blend in with the nocturnal vegetation. Two round, black eyes peer from its wooden face, and a mouth drawn in a permanent grimace, half smile, half unsettling gesture, gives it an appearance that is both comical and chilling. Those who claim to have seen him say he carries a wooden bat over his shoulder, as if it were both a giant drumstick to sound his own body and a deterrent against others' laziness. The scene is often completed with a dim lantern, illuminating his silhouette. Many stories describe him appearing next to an old night watch post with an orange lantern, which accentuates his carved features and casts dancing shadows around him. This anthropomorphic drum utters no words, only the tung 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 of its own resonating body, reminding us that not all musical instruments want to stay still on the wall. Number 8. The Rule of 3 Calls. Tung Tung Sahur comes with an ancient warning known as the Rule of 3 Calls. Legend has it that if a person is called up to 3 times for Sahur, the pre-dawn meal, and does not respond or get up, then Tung Tung Sahur himself will make an appearance. The first call is usually a simple notice, the second an insistent drumbeat in the distance. But on the third, you'd better wake up. In the stillness of the night, counting to 3 has never been so frightening. By ignoring the third resonant Sahur, you are practically inviting the entity to your door. Stories shared among neighbors tell of unexpected encounters after the third call. For instance, the case of the young man who decided to ignore his mother's voice and the morning roosters. He swore he heard a much louder tung 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 that seemed to come from just outside his window. When he finally shot up, startled, he could make out a blurry figure walking slowly down the street with a drum on its back. Since then, no one in his family needs more than 2 calls to jump out of bed. The lesson is clear. 3 calls are the limit between a normal morning and a terrifying visit from this character. Number 7. The Relentless Alarm Clock. If you thought your phone's alarms were persistent, wait until you meet the relentless alarm clock embodied in Tung Tung Sahur. This being isn't content with knocking on your door and leaving. On the contrary, it is famous for its supernatural persistence in ensuring you fulfill your duty to wake up. It's been said that he starts with slow but firm drum beats, and if there is no response, the rhythm increases in intensity and proximity. Tung, tung, tung. The sound becomes so piercing that it penetrates even the deepest dreams. There is no snooze button for this early morning specter. Some anecdotes paint scenes that are both comical and spooky. A lazy man who tried to cover his ears with his pillow only managed to anger the ghostly drummer into entering his house. The next day, he was found sleeping on the roof. How he got there is part of the mystery, far from his bed and wide awake. Another tale speaks of spoons and pots in the kitchen found banging on their own in unison with the tung tung, as if the house itself were conspiring with Tung Tung Sahur to get you out of bed. It's clear that surrendering to sleep is not an option when this tireless living alarm clock has set its sights and its hearing on you. Number 6. The Bat of Dawn. One of the most peculiar features of Tung Tung Sahur is his faithful companion, the Bat of Dawn. This is not just any bat, but an old, solid wood baseball bat, worn by time and full of nicks, which he wields as both a scepter and a mallet. With it, he produces his characteristic tung, tung, tung by rhythmically striking his own drum body or the surfaces in his path. The choice of this object has led to many theories. Some say he took it from a player who was fast asleep during an early morning game. Others claim it's a symbol of how he bats laziness out of our homes every dawn. The truth is that the bat serves a dual purpose. On one hand, it amplifies the roar of his call. Each strike resonates like a domestic thunderclap that no one can ignore. On the other hand, it commands respect. If anyone dared to confront this emissary of the dawn, they would think twice after seeing the entity's silhouette brandishing the bat in the gloom. Fortunately, he almost never uses it for assault, except in extreme cases of incorrigible slackers. It's humorously said that Tung Tung Sahur prefers a good scare to a good swat, but knowing he could do it keeps everyone on their toes. Waking up with a jolt is undoubtedly better than receiving a tap from the legendary Bat of Dawn. Number 5. The Town Watchman. Delving deeper into the story, many link Tung Tung Sahur to the figure of the town watchman. In ancient times, it was common for a night watchman to walk through villages, striking a drum or bell to mark the hour and ward off dangers. The legend suggests that Tung Tung Sahur could be the spirit of one of these dedicated guardians, so committed to his task of waking the community for Sahur that not even death could stop him. He continued his rounds from beyond the supernatural veil, transformed into an entity that blends tradition with the spectral. In some versions of the story, an elderly lamplighter named Pak Sarman, a common fictional name in tales, is mentioned, who never failed in his duty to strike the Kentongan before dawn. One time, the villagers ignored his repeated calls. The next day, they found him exhausted and heartbroken as he felt he had failed in his mission. After his death, the inhabitants began to hear a distant drum during the early mornings, even when no one was walking the streets. Thus, the belief was born that the old watchman had returned as Tung Tung Sahur. Number 4. Echoes in the darkness. Few things send a shiver down your spine like hearing the echoes of a distant drum in the darkness. The call of Tung Tung Sahur has the unique quality of being felt in the air before its figure is seen. Imagine being in silence near dawn and suddenly hearing a rhythmic tung, 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 bouncing off the walls of your sleeping neighborhood. Some describe the sound as hypnotic, almost musical, but with a strange metallic quality that makes windows tremble. It's unlike anything a half-asleep human could produce. It's as if the very air vibrates, announcing the arrival of something supernatural. There are testimonies from grandmothers who claim to have heard that ghostly drum on hot nights when everyone else in the house was asleep. They say that after the first few beats, the neighbor's rooster fell silent and the crickets hushed, as if nature itself was paying respect to the hymn of Tung Tung Sahur. Even those who have never seen him confess that once you've heard its eerie echo, it's impossible to forget. The melody lingers in your head, catchy and disturbing, like a lullaby in reverse. Number 3. The Sahur family. Entering the top 3 of our countdown, we discover that Tung Tung Sahur is not alone in the world, he has a family. Various rumors and tales mention an unusual Sahur family. The most frequently mentioned is Ta Sahur, who is said to be his younger brother, or perhaps an imitator. Unlike Tung Tung, Ta Sahur is described as a more mischievous creature who appears at different times, playing a slightly different rhythm, a higher-pitched ta, to confuse the unsuspecting. Some joke that this younger brother tries to wake you up for a midnight snack instead of for the pre-dawn meal, causing bewilderment among sleepers who get up at the wrong time. There is also talk of ancestors in this curious genealogical line. A supposed father, Bra Patapim, was allegedly the drum spirit of a previous generation, perhaps associated with calls to other prayers or mourning events in past eras. Some even mention a ghostly grandfather named Bra Bra Tarflam, about whom little is known. It is said that this elderly specter might have been the first magical sound that started this tradition. While these family connections between rhythmically named entities may sound far-fetched, they add a fun twist to the myth. After all, even legendary creatures can have a family tree, and it seems Tung Tung Sahur is full of sounds and surprises. Number 2. The secret weakness. Despite his invincible aura, even a being like Tung Tung Sahur is said to have a secret weakness. Many agree that his dominion ends with the first rays of the sun. As soon as dawn fully breaks, the nocturnal spell is broken, and our ghostly little drum vanishes until the next morning. Daylight seems to neutralize his power. Therefore, if you manage to withstand his assaults until dawn, which is no easy feat by the way, you will likely escape his visit without major consequences. However, there are less extreme methods. According to those in the know, simply demonstrating that you are already awake and have had your sahur is enough to make him lose interest. A simple noise in the kitchen, a light turned on, or peeking out the window with your cup of coffee could be enough for Tung Tung Sahur to move on, knowing his intervention is no longer needed in that home. Interestingly, modern technology might also play a role in scaring away, or enraging, this being. Some claim that if you set an electronic alarm just before the time he usually passes, the digital beep beep will compete with the traditional tung tung, and Tung Tung Sahur will prefer not to appear out of musical pride. Others warn that doing so might annoy him. They say that in houses where a shrill alarm went off at that hour, the device was found mysteriously broken the next morning, as if it had received a good whack. Number 1. The dark origin. We've reached the most impactful fact, the dark origin of Tung Tung Sahur. Behind his pre-dawn wanderings lies a story that few know. One chilling version tells that decades ago, in a remote village, a young machine enthusiast decided to create a mechanical assistant to help with the sahur routines. He experimented with automatic drums, recordings, and even primitive artificial intelligence to generate the perfect call. What he didn't expect was that on a stormy Ramadan night, his inventions attracted something more. An ancient spirit of the dawn merged with the machine. Thus, Tung Tung Sahur was born, half traditional specter, half artificial creation, giving life to a unique being forged between algorithms and legends. An even older legend speaks of a spirit born from collective outcry itself. In times of need, when an entire community yearned not to oversleep, their fears and hopes took form. That energy gave birth to an entity whose very essence is the command to awaken. This version holds that Tung Tung Sahur was not created by anyone in particular, but by all of us, by every worried whisper of, "Don't you dare fall asleep." Whatever the truth may be, the origin of this character remains shrouded in mystery and shadows. Is he an ancestral guardian responding to the call of modernity? A whim of technology that gained its own consciousness? Perhaps a bit of both. What we do know is that his presence has woven one of the most curious and talked about legends in the Brainrot universe, reminding us that even in the digital age, myths can awaken us, literally, with the beat of a drum.